Hi, this is Paul Lemberg. In this video, we begin talking about the margin magnifier, which focuses on adding value, defining return on investment, and how you can charge higher prices. As the name of this module implies, you're going to learn how to structure and position your business so that you can make more money than you are now. How? By improving your value proposition and as a result, charging higher prices than you currently do for your products and services, and do it all without reducing the number of sales you make, which means that for the same amount of work, you will earn more revenue and more profits than your business has ever earned before. You're going to learn how you can increase your profits, not revenues, but profits, in a very short time by a huge percentage. I'm going to show you some money math that I hope is going to intrigue you. So let's say that you run an online store where you sell a product for $100 each unit. And each month you sell 1,000 units, which translates into $100,000 in sales. Now, each one of these products costs you $75, which means that your total cost of goods sold for the month are $75,000. And that gives you a gross profit of $100,000 minus $75,000, which yields $25,000. That's a 25% gross margin. Now, your costs for things like warehousing, maybe paying for a couple of part-time employees, etc., that's all your SG&A. That runs you another $10,000. So in the end, you're going to make $15,000 a month in profits. Now that's not bad. Let's say that you decide to raise your price by 15%. So now you're selling that same product that you used to sell for 100, now you're selling it for 115. You raise the value perception of your product so that in spite of selling for a higher price, you still sell 1,000 units a month. So instead of having 100,000 in sales, you're now selling that same 1,000 units at 115 each, totaling 115,000 in sales. So far, so good. But what I want to show you now, this part's almost like magic. The products haven't gone up in price. They still cost you $75 each. So your total product cost, your cost of goods sold, remains the same at $75,000, but instead of having a gross profit of $25,000, your gross profit is now $40,000. It's gone from 25% to 34%. That's a pretty nice change in gross margin. But since you don't have to pay the employees any more than you did before, your rent stays the same, your electricity is the same, your shipping costs are the same, everything's the same, your overhead, your SG&A, remains the same at $10,000. So now your profit is not $15,000 but $30,000, which is a 100% cash-on-cash increase. You just doubled your profits simply by increasing your price 15%. That's why we called this module Margin Magnifier. Can you see the power of this? With just a few minutes work, you can suddenly spike your profits to levels that you could only imagine a month ago. Could something like this work in your business? Let's stop and consider a worst case scenario. Maybe it couldn't work in your business. Maybe you'd raise your prices and something would happen. But I know that some of you, may still question that there's something going through your mind, and you may be asking yourself, what if I can't sell the same number of units as I did before? So let's look at how low your sales could go before you were making less money. Do you have any guesses? What if they dropped 10%? Maybe 20%? 30%? Amazingly, your sales could drop by more than 1/3. They could drop from 1,000 units to 625 units before you lose money in this proposition. Now, I assure you, if you implement the things we're going to teach you in this unit, the likelihood of you losing 1/3 of your sales is incredibly, incredibly small. But the fact of the matter is, even if you lost as much as 33%, you would still make more money. But wait, the whole thing gets better. I know you've heard me talk about the law of compounding. You create more value and you raise your prices similar to the way I've just mentioned. Then you move on to increase your business by the same amount or some amount. That increase could be 5%, it could be 10%, it could be 15%, and sometimes, as I've just shown you, it could be even more. And each time you do that, you multiply the previous growth by yet another percentage. And if you do that several times in a row, it's not long before you do double your business, that you do get that 100% increase. So just to be clear, this means that if you take the time, figure out the exact application that will work for your specific business, take a little time to do something, and you don't even have to do it perfectly, you just have to do something, you will have amazing impact. You can double your business, you can potentially triple it, quadruple it, maybe even more. You will multiply your bottom line in a very short period of time. I don't know about you, but I think this is exciting stuff, and I am ready to get going. But before I do that, I have an important message for you, so you need to pay attention. If at any point during this presentation you think you have learned enough and can impact your prices right away, I want you to stop the program. It doesn't matter what I'm saying or where we are or if we're in the middle of a cliffhanger or anything. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a sentence. Just hit the pause button, stop the program, and go start implementing. And remember, when you hear yourself saying in your mind, oh gee, I can do that now, just hit the pause button, stop the program, don't worry about anything else. So now that you understand this important message, let's keep going a little bit more. I want to talk for a minute about the main causes of business failure. And this is going to be so simple, you won't even believe it. You ready? The first is declining gross margin. Now, these three little words could save your business's life. Declining gross margin. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by declining gross margin? Gross margin is defined as the revenue you take in minus whatever you spend so that you can deliver the products or services related to that revenue. That's gross margin. It's also called gross profit. If your gross margin is declining, then your business is headed for trouble, and that is the cause, number one, of business failure. What's number two? Number two is when expenses rise as a percentage of sales. In other words, if your expenses are going up faster than your sales are going up as a percentage, then your business is headed for serious trouble. Failure number three is if your sales volume is increasing while either of those first two things is happening. So in other words, if sales volume is increasing and gross margin is going down, or sales volume is increasing and expenses is rising as a percentage of sales, then your business could be seriously headed for trouble. So those are the three main causes of business failure. And I know it's very, very simple, but these are the things that I want you to be thinking about the entire time as we work our way through Margin Magnifier and talk about raising your prices. So let's turn this around and look at some of the simple causes of business success. I know you really want to understand these, and they're a lot more interesting, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. What are the causes? The main cause of business success is high gross margins. It's the opposite. If you can charge a lot more than it costs to deliver or fulfill the product or service you're selling, you're going to make money and you're going to succeed. Second cause is if you have excess margins. And what I mean by excess margins is money that's left over from your gross profit after you pay your overhead. You can take those excess margins and invest them in market development and product development. You can also put some of that in your product, but when you invest your gross margin in business development, which could also, by the way, mean acquisition of competitors or other things like that, then your business will succeed beyond your wildest dreams. The last cause of business success is, rising sales volume. If you have excess margins and rising sales volume and you keep investing your growth, your business is going to be a raging success. Let's talk for a few minutes at the elements of a business model, and these help determine whether a company is destined for growth and success. There are lots and lots of business model factors, far too many to go into in a few-minute video. But some of the ones that we're going to talk about here have a lot to do with the freedom you have in terms of your ability to raise prices and still remain competitive. So I'd like to take a quick look at these. The first set of factors, these are two things that compare to each other, and it compares high differentiation versus low differentiation. So what do I mean by that? Some products and services are very differentiated from their competitors. And if we look at, say, a Bentley or a Ferrari, these two cars are highly differentiated from both each other and from other car manufacturers out there. So, for example, if we talk about Toyota, it's pretty hard to tell a Toyota from a Nissan or a Volkswagen. Maybe a Volvo's a little different, but all those other three, they're kind of the same. But Ferraris and Bentleys are highly differentiated. The differences are extreme, and we can see those easily. Of course, highly differentiated products have a lot of pricing flexibility, whereas low differentiated products, just like table salt and maybe air conditioners and refrigerators, they have a lot less ability to be differentiated by price, except by smart marketers. So let's look at another factor, which is the area comparing high competition and low competition. Now, where there is low competition, where you don't have a lot of players in a marketplace, you have more freedom in terms of pricing. Typically, if you have lots and lots of competitors, and if you have a less differentiated product, then you're going to have a hard time using price to earn more money and greater margins. On the other hand, if you have high competition, but you are highly differentiated from that competition, you still have pricing freedom. So I want you to see that differentiation will trump competition in this case. Let's look at a third factor, which is whether you have control over price versus not having any control over price. If you're a manufacturer and you sell something that you manufacture, or you sell a service where you're the direct provider of the service, you have ultimate control over price. On the other hand, let's take the opposite extreme. Let's say you're an affiliate marketer and you never touch the product or service, then you typically have absolutely zero control over price. So these three factors taken together, these are going to help us understand whether we can use price as a competitive weapon or as a way to earn more money for your business. Let's look at some other business model issues and focus on the types of businesses that people operate as online businesses on the internet. And again, from the perspective of what kind of control we have. Now, as I say this is complete and an all-encompassing list, of course you can be sure that there are people who are going to say, well, I'm not even on that business. I don't even want to talk about these things. I'm going to talk about these, which I believe are the main ones. So the first is information product marketers. These are people who sell things that are completely digital, and they're typically text, audio, or video recordings, and any other type of digital product that's pure information. The next model I'm going to call offline service providers. So these are people who sell a service that is delivered in the physical world, but they market it online. Next, we've got offline product providers, and these people sell a product that's delivered in the physical world, typically in a retail store or a wholesale environment, and yet the orders are placed or marketed online. Next, we've got online service providers. Who falls into this category? People like banks or insurance or mortgages and things like that. These are people who fall into the category of online service providers. And some of these service providers, rather some of these services, are marketed to online marketers, and things like PayPal and other payment services, or gateways, things like VeriSign, or shopping cart companies, autoresponders, all of these. All of these are the tools that we use online. These people are the online service providers. The service is delivered online and it's marketed online. The next one is e-commerce, shippable goods, hard goods, and I'm going to use e-commerce specifically to mean that. So goods where there are physical products that are shipped and yet they are sold completely online. Next, we have affiliate marketers, and these are typically third parties who market a product or service and maybe even close the sale while somebody else, the product owner or the manufacturer, fulfills the product. Generally, affiliate marketers have little or no control at all over price. I'm going to mention one last business model, and I'm going to call these people scalpers or spammers. So these are people who use all sorts of gray hat or black hat methods to create transactions, and they're looking for a small margin on each transaction. Whether or not you can control price doesn't matter. Control over price is completely irrelevant to the spammer or scalper business model. So these are the models that we're going to be talking about as we go forward. We're not really talking much about the last one. Hopefully, some of what I offer you here is going to be relevant even to affiliate marketers, even if you don't have control over price. You may be in a situation where you throw up your arms and you say, there's nothing I can do. I urge you to work your way through the entire margin magnifier module anyway. I want you to understand the concepts and see how you can provide a more powerful value proposition. You may not be able to improve your price position, but it may help you sell more. So I want e-commerce people to take note here. And many e-commerce people think they have little control over prices and can't raise them. And this is because most e-commerce people and a lot of affiliate marketers, as I just mentioned, are selling commodity products. So say you're selling a camera and it's the same camera no matter what, or you're selling a battery for that camera and it's the same battery no matter what. And if you're selling skin cream, it might be the same skin cream everyone else is selling, or perfume, it's the same perfume, it comes in the same bottle in the same box, or it's the same manufacturer patio furniture, and so on. You know what I mean. Most people who sell these kinds of products think that their products are the same and that there's a lot of price shoppers out there, so if you raise your prices, you're going to get hammered and lose business. The fact is, you can still raise prices for these types of products. It may not be as easy as it is for some other people, but you still can. It doesn't mean that's exactly what you want to do. It may not be the right thing for your business. And your business strategy may still be based on low price. I'm going to try to talk you out of it, but it still may be based on low price. I'm going to show you a few things that may help you change your mind. But the fact of the matter is that e-commerce prices are varied all over the map, just like everything else. And you need to pay careful attention and need to ask yourself whether this is how you want to compete or not. I want you to pay careful attention to the section that follows. And this is all about how to craft your offer, because this is really where the meat and potatoes are if you're going to be an e-commerce marketer. Lastly, I want you to know that affiliate marketers may not be able to control price. You may not be able to. There's nothing you can do about it. But by packaging a superior, compelling offer, you may be able to create more business volume. In other words, you may be able to sell more. And by selling more, you may be able to get terms from your vendor that actually allow you to magnify your margin that way. So you too want to pay attention to this. Do not quit on margin magnifiers. All right, this next thing that I say may piss people off, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say it anyway. Competing on price is the laziest business tactic that there is, and it's for people who are lazy salespeople and lazy marketers. Now, there are those of you who are immediately pissed off and you're going to say, but I can't raise my prices because I'm selling a commodity product and everybody else is selling exactly the same thing and my competitors just cut their prices, so I have to cut mine. What I have to say to you is that you have to start getting creative about how you sell and stop being such a lazy salesperson. The differences will astound you in terms of the kind of money you make. So listen, if I haven't upset you or threatened your worldview already, I'm probably about to. But I do want to make sure that I really have your attention before I go forward. When I talk to different internet marketers, people who are, particularly people who are in the e-commerce environment and absolutely people who are selling as affiliate people, I frequently hear them say, this is what they say. They say, price isn't really important to me. My job is to generate so many leads that we just make tons and tons of money. And there are a lot of successful internet marketers who do compete on price and do make tons of money. So I don't want to totally discount this strategy. It is about making incremental improvements. The first one being higher value, leading to better pricing, leading to increased margins. If through structuring your offer and your value proposition in some different way, you're able to get a 15% price advantage or even just a 15% margin advantage, that's going to have an enormous impact on your business. Your business is going to boom. Remember, right here, right now, margin magnifiers, we are not looking to double your price. We're looking to be able to get a 15% increase in margin gained by raising prices. So remember that example that I showed you. And you know what? Maybe 15% is impossible. Maybe you'll only get 10%. But remember our example. It was a 15% increase in price. It went to a 100% increase in margin. So maybe it's going to only be 5% for you. But you know what? Maybe it could be significantly more than that. Small incremental gains like that can have such an incredible impact on how much money you make. Like I said, it will blow your mind. You create more value and you raise your prices. That increase could be 5%, it could be 10%, it could be 15%, and sometimes, as I've just shown you, it could be even more. And each time you do that, you multiply the previous growth by yet another percentage. And if you do that several times in a row, it's not long before you do double your business, that you do get that 100% increase. Figure out the exact application that will work for your specific business. Take a little time to do something, and you don't even have to do it perfectly. You just have to do something. You will have amazing impact. You can double your business. You can potentially triple it, quadruple it, maybe even more. You will multiply your bottom line in a very short period of time. I don't know about you, but I think this is exciting stuff, and I am ready to get going.